Disturbing allegations about accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and members of his social circle. Those allegations come from newly unsealed documents from a now settled court case against Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. A woman claims that Maxwell groomed her to be a sex slave to Epstein and was trafficked to some of his most powerful associates. Among those associates, a former senator and a governor. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Tonight, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal is growing. Bombshell accusations point a finger at some rather notable names. 2,000 pages of documents were unsealed in Manhattan federal court related to a defamation case brought by Virginia Roberts Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell, an Epstein associate. In court filings, Giuffre says she became an underage teen sex slave for Epstein, who was later directed by Maxwell and Epstein to have sex with many, quote, powerful men, including numerous prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, and other world leaders.
Now, our top story today, North Korea fired 2 more projectiles assumed to be short-range ballistic missiles into the East Sea on Saturday morning. It's the second launch in 4 days and the 5th in just over 2 weeks.
South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said North Korea launched 2 short-range ballistic missiles in the early hours of Saturday towards the East Sea at around 5:34 a.m. and 5:50 a.m. Korea time from its eastern city of Hamhung in Hamgyeongnam province. The missiles reached a maximum altitude of around 48 kilometers and flew some 400 kilometers, recording a maximum flight speed of Mach 6.1, that's around 7,466 kilometers an hour. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said it's working with the U.S. to verify further information about the missiles while monitoring the situation for additional launches, as well as firmly maintaining its defense posture. It said it believes the North is conducting summertime military training, and with the start of the combined command post training, it sees it highly likely North Korea launched the missiles as a warning over the South Korea-U.S. joint training.
The hunt for a gunman who killed 2 people after crashing his car into theirs during rush hour, then unloading round after round into their vehicle. The shootout on a busy highway in Houston, backing up traffic for miles. But the gunman drove away before police arrived, and tonight they're asking for the public's help to find him. Here's ABC's Clayton Sandell.
Oh my God. Houston police tonight are searching for a gunman who turned a rush hour freeway into a deadly shooting gallery. One victim lying on the ground as Good Samaritans desperately try CPR to keep him alive as Interstate 10 traffic backs up for miles.
They arrived at drive-by shooting, Hispanic male tan shirt holding a really big gun, shooting at another car.
Investigators say it started around 6 last night. 2 suspects in a dark sedan ramming into this silver car, forcing it to spin out. Witnesses say one suspect jumped out of his car, firing what appeared to be an AR-15 rifle.
He actually pursued the vehicle as the vehicle rode down the hill, firing rounds at the vehicle as it rolled. At one point, the vehicle came to a stop. He got in front of the vehicle and fired rounds into the front windshield of the vehicle.
While denuclearization talks have once again stalled between Pyongyang and Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump received another letter from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Kim said he's not happy with the South Korea-U.S. joint exercises.
Another friendly letter from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to U.S. President Donald Trump amid series of missile tests. Speaking to reporters at the White House on Friday, Trump announced that he received a very beautiful and personal letter from Kim on Thursday.
He really wrote a beautiful 3-page, right from top to bottom, a really beautiful letter. And maybe I'll release the results of the letter, but it was a very positive.
In the letter, Kim expressed dissatisfaction over the joint military exercises between South Korea and the U.S.
It was a great letter. He talked about what he's doing. He's not happy with the testing. It's a very small testing that we did, but he wasn't happy with the testing. He put that in the letter.
An investigation team meets near a military facility in Russia's far north. Moscow says they're investigating the explosion of a rocket engine at Nunyoska. The site is used for testing missiles for the Russian Navy. Russia's state nuclear company said staff members died in the blast, while US analysts suggest it was likely a new nuclear-powered cruise missile President Putin said Russia was producing in March last year. The United States formally withdrew from the 30-year-old Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty with Russia last Friday. Russia's defence ministry said no dangerous substances were released in the explosion, although local authorities closed waters north of the site to shipping for a month. Greenpeace cited government data showing a radiation spike 20 times above normal in a city 30 kilometres from the test site.
Now, more than 500 firearms were reported lost from South African police services in the 2018-2019 financial year. Police Minister Gere has revealed this in a written reply to a parliamentary question from the Freedom Front Plus leader Peter Groenewald. Joining us on the line now is Police Ministry spokesperson Arirang Temba. Arirang, thanks very much indeed for joining us. The police must be alarmed at such a high number of firearms going missing.
Afternoon to you, Peter. Well, I think it's also very important to put into context the fact that this number is really a reflective of about 0.3% of state-issued firearms that are within the SAPS offices. We know that there's about 150 officers that are operating and that are using firearms. So I think it's very important to just put it into context.
They came out in their thousands, defying barricades and checkpoints, tear gas and anti-riot pellets, all infuriated by the Indian government for taking away their autonomy. Protests began after Friday prayers in Srinagar, the largest city in Indian-administered Kashmir. Security was eased for a few hours, but by Friday evening, the 5-day lockdown was tightened again. Phone lines are dead, so is the internet. Getting to see a doctor is difficult. It was another long walk for the families of patients outside Srinagar's largest hospital.
As some residents of Aden remain trapped in their homes to try and stay away from street battles, they're finding little protection. At least 4 people were killed when southern separatists shelled this residential area north of the city in a 3rd day of fighting with the Presidential Guard. The UAE-backed separatists and the Saudi-backed government troops are believed to be targeting each other with heavy weapons in a power play for the city. The UN Secretary General is calling on the parties to engage in an inclusive dialogue to resolve their differences and address the legitimate concerns of all Yemenis. And he says the conflict in Yemen can only be resolved through a political solution. On Friday, the commander of the Presidential Guard, Brigadier General Sanat al-Rahwa, was filmed visiting the city center, as was Hani bin Break, the deputy chairman of the Southern Transitional Council, who visited wounded troops in hospital. Hani bin Break has become a central figure in the rebellion.
We begin with that frightening alleged plot targeting a synagogue and an LGBTQ bar.
Yeah, the FBI arresting a Las Vegas security guard. You see him right here with ties to a white supremacist group, saying he had bomb-making materials.
That man making local headlines in 2016 when he began patrolling his neighborhood armed to the teeth. The arrest coming just less than a week after back-to-back mass shootings. ABC's Will Reeve joins us now with more. Will, good morning.
Whit, good morning. This man has a history with firearms in his community, and new this morning, investigators revealing messages with incendiary language in which he laid out plans to attack that synagogue and bar with guns and explosives.
Federal authorities say this is the man who was plotting to bomb a Las Vegas synagogue or gay bar.
I have my Bushmaster AR-15 rifle.
23-year-old Connor Climo, seen here in this 2016 video from affiliate KTNV, now charged with possessing illegal firearms and bomb-making materials.